People out, the artistic, so gifted. African ancestry gets it. Yes, they black owned for the people. In the roots, they will find your sequel. Genetic test in the process, peaceful. Reunite, multiply with your equals. Black scientists, research it. Invest in that time, you're worth it. Experience feels so perfect. Get on the right path to your purpose. No other in the industry like this. Find your link to a tribe, precise kit. Mende people, Mendenga, Volanta, the house. I wanna know ya. Cameroon, Guinea-Bissau, Sierra Leone. Gotta let me show ya. Nigeria, Bioko Island, Liberia. I wanna know ya. Cameroon, Guinea-Bissau, Sierra Leone. Gotta let me show ya. Nigeria, Bioko Island, Liberia. I wanna know ya. AfricanAncestry.com. The pioneers in genetic tracing for black people. Since 2003, doing what no other in the industry can do. By tracing your DNA to the present day African country, ethnic group, or tribe. What better time than now to find out where you came from? Order your kit today.
Welcome, everybody. It's a surprise. Dr. Gina is not here today. However, we're in good hands. I'm Wendy Cherry, and I'm usually on the back end, behind the curtain, doing the production. But today she has trusted me to sit in her seat, and we are going to have an amazing African Ancestry live show. So welcome, family. Please tell us where you're from. Let's see. Now, I know most of you, we got Avanti here. Hey, everybody. Mahawa. We have Plachette, Mary Smith, Lisa Hayes, Sydney from EO, East Orange, New Jersey. Good to see you all. I'm so excited. I'm a little nervous, so please bear with me, but it's going to be a wonderful show. I Am Bolt is welcoming our guests, so we'll get right to that in a minute. And what we are doing tonight is talking about, it's Hispanic Heritage Month. So we have some amazing guests on tonight who will talk about their experience as Afro Latinos and Latinx, and they will explain that to us. So fly your flags, tell us where you're from. I am representing Cameroon, the Mafa people. Got my Ghanaian earrings on, and then I'm also representing Sierra Leone with my flag because I'm a little hot. So with my fan. So I was one of the people actually who went on the inaugural African Ancestry family reunion trip too, and you will be hearing more about that very, very soon. So fly your flags, and we'll soon be ready. Now tonight we are giving away for the first person. Now I'm looking at the first person, Menelik. You said hi first. I just want to make sure if you have won before, if anybody has won before, you can only win once. And so we are giving away a study guide. And so it's an amazing piece. It's an amazing product, and you can learn a lot. You share it with your family. It's for all ages. And that's what we'll be giving away. So if Menelik has not won anything before, Menelik, let us know if you've won something before. Otherwise, you're the winner. So all you have to do is shoot us an email at info@africanancestry.com, and we will send it to you. So we have a pretty big show tonight, and we have 3 guests. So this is the most that we've had in a long time. So we want to just get right to it. Our first guest, one more thing. We are doing a Why You Matter campaign, and it is for men to take with the Y chromosome to take the African Ancestry test. We want 2,022 people by 2022 Father's Day. So please, if you're interested in joining the brothers in the ranks, go to AfricanAncestry.com/Y to learn more. So after that, we're going to just get right to it. And I want to bring in the first I want to introduce our guests, but then they're going to give you a little bit more about who they are. So our first guest is Alexis Garcia. So welcome, Alexis, and you're on mute.
Hi, everyone.
So Alexis is a writer, a director, a supervising producer for Pero Like and BuzzFeed. And so most of us know BuzzFeed. She's a proud Afro Boricua from the Bronx, BX, and her current work as a supervising producer for Pero Like, she has honed an expertise in Latinx audiences and storytelling across all platforms. So welcome, Alexis. We are so happy to have you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here and for this conversation. I took an African Ancestry DNA test a little over 2 years ago, in January of 2020, I believe, or November. And when I got my results back, it was such a gift. I learned that my maternal side of the family descends from the Igbo people of Nigeria.
Okay, let's have you hold 1 second, because you know what? We actually have a clip.
Oh, okay. Wait, I might be jumping ahead. I could slow this down.
We're just going to ease and flow. So, okay, hold on a second. We're going to show you the clip of the segments that BuzzFeed produced with two of our guests, Gadiel, who you will meet soon, and Alexis. So watch this.
It's just like, it's nice to know that this is where we come from, you know.
Hello, my name is Alexis and my family's from Puerto Rico.
My mom's from Panama, she's Panamanian, and my dad, he's originally from Brooklyn, New York, and he's African American.
When I go back to Dominican Republic, there's no history on the African Ancestry. When I talked to my dad, I was like, Papi, where are we from? He was like, we're Del Orbes, we're from the northern part of Spain. I'm like, have you seen yourself, bro?
I think as Latinos, we've been in denial about our blackness for so long. It wasn't celebrated. And that's unfortunate because there's so many beautiful, wonderful things that we inherited. I'm excited that we're reclaiming that history now.
You can learn a lot about yourself and your family and your ancestry. And I think it just gives you a sense of pride and a sense of identity.
Right now, people are embracing their Afro-Latinidad. And the more we embrace it, the more we start discovering and learning new things.
I'm really excited to take this test in particular because I want to know more about my African ancestors and these spirits that I know are still with me.
It means the world to me because I'm more interested within my African side. I feel like I'm not brainwashed anymore. Colonized ideology, I woke up from that, son.
I'm hoping to find out that I came from a warrior tribe. Wow, this is so pretty.
Woo! This looks beautiful.
Right, so I love that clip, and you know, Gadiel, who we will bring up next, his personality and your personalities shine through. So next we will have Gadiel Del Orbe, but I want to show this second clip of him, just so you can get a little sneak peek of who he is. 1 second.
I'm an artist myself. Like, I do comedy, I do stand-up, do videos here, so I can see that.
So you do comedy?
Yeah, I do comedy, yeah.
Listen.
That's my sister.
Oh, hey sis.
You gotta see her emotional.
I wanted to share this. So recently we revealed the ancestry of the comedian Sinbad, and he's Tikar.
No way.
Is Anthony Anderson and Wanda Sykes.
Oh, we probably cousins, all of us, huh?
So, welcome, Gadiel.
I'm here watching this though, huh?
Yes, it was so emotional even for me to watch it and to see your reaction. I had the same reaction. I'm an early adapter of the technology. I took the first test in 2007, and to finally realize who I was that emotional, but it never gets old. It never gets old putting the pieces together of who you are. So welcome. So Gadiel is a comedian. He was a part of BuzzFeed, and his segments have gotten millions of views over all of his platforms. A former Navy vet, And now he's out and touring and doing comedy. And, you know, Gadiel, please share with us what else you got going on.
Oh man, I've signed. I'm doing a lot of auditioning and a lot of shows. I got a show tonight actually at 7 o'clock.
Okay, okay.
I'm writing, coming up with documentaries, and just doing it all at once. I feel like learning the process of the entertainment industry, but also learning this capitalism thing at the same time. You know, like being a businessman, being a business owner. How to take care. I'm always like been the one talking about finances within our team. Alexis knows, and also learning about my identity and how we fit within this industry.
Yes.
You have to understand is white owned, white led, and it's not only. And then you think about Afro Latinidad, you're a double minority because you know, everybody goes like, you know, Latinos, we're all Latinos, we're Latinos. But when you're black, they're like, we Latinos, but you know, sit your black ass over there, right? So, and then, so it's like the media's and Latino media is run by white Latinos, and they're like, it's all of us. But then when it comes to them creating content or creating something, they put themselves on the forefront, right? And then they want us to just support anything. So when you get backlash on Afro Latinos, they got to understand that y'all are our colonizers, right?
Right.
Now y'all want to sit on the oppressed table too, right? So that's something that this identity, that's something that we're dealing with within our community itself.
Yes, and we want to unpack more of that. So I do want to introduce our third guest, who's Carmel Domond, and she is a 7th grade middle school teacher. Take yourself off mute, Carm.
Yeah, I should have known that. Hey, y'all.
Now, we all know school is hard right now. It's been the pandemic. The Rona is here. And so kudos to you. Thank you to you for your patience.
Yeah.
You know, you've been teaching, and I'm sure you have amazing experiences. But tell us who you teach and just a few things about your students and your demographic, and then we will put you back to the waiting room and we'll talk about Alexis and Gadiel for a little while, and then we'll bring you back up to top it off.
Okay. Hey, everyone. My name is Carmel. I am an educator in Washington, D.C. I teach 7th grade. And I would say this year has been really interesting. This year, my 7th grade class, the demographic is majority Latino students. We've had some great conversations. Mind you, we're only 5 weeks in to the school year, and we've already had really great conversations around Hispanic Heritage Month. We've talked about colorism as well, and also language and colonization, bringing it back to what Gadiel was saying earlier. It's opened a lot of great dialogue, but also a lot of culture shock for the students. A lot of things that they weren't ready to hear, that they weren't used to hearing, that I had to bring attention to. The kind of teacher I am, I teach from a very African truth and not a European perspective. I'm going to keep it all the way real. That's how I've always been. And so when I teach them, I make sure that I empower them in a way that they know who they are 100%. And then I also always tell them, like, do your own research. If you don't feel comfortable with what I'm telling you, do your own research, ask, you know, your family members as well. But that's pretty much what I've been doing here in DC.
Okay.
I wish I had a teacher like Carmel when I was in 7th grade.
Right.
I wish I had a teacher like me in 7th grade.
Absolutely. So, Carm, we will ask you to go to the waiting room just for a minute. And so what I really want to talk about with Gadiel and Alexis is, so, you know, in the media and all over social and even on my cable network, I see this big old banner for Hispanic Heritage Month. And I understand that, and everybody might not understand this, but I understand that, you know, Hispanic Heritage Month necessarily doesn't encompass everybody. So Afro Latino and what we would consider Latinx. So can you kind of break down your feelings about Hispanic Heritage Month and where our brethren may fit in to that?
Yeah, I personally don't like the term Hispanic. I don't use it. I prefer Latinx, Latine, Latina, identify as Latina. But I do think it does come down to personal preference with regards to the term that people prefer to use. But I like Latinx or Latine because it encompasses all of Latin America, including Brazil, which has a very similar history to Puerto Rico, which is where my family is from. And I think like that the term Hispanic is very tired, and I've gotten to this point in my life where I'm less celebratory of my Spanish heritage, just because that was what was always force fed to me my entire life, and the thing that my family celebrated and uplifted the most. And so much more interested in my African heritage, which wasn't taught to me, which was often hidden, and I feel like the term Latinx is much more inclusive of that mixed heritage and pursuing those lesser known histories of ourselves.
Okay, how about you, Gadiel?
I agree a lot with Alexis. I don't think I ever had like an issue with the term Hispanic. I think I embrace all my identities, right? I never been like this one no, this one yeah. I'm like, what? I'm everything. I'm everything and all things, right? But I can see her point, and it's true. It does alienate our brothers in Haiti. It alienates people in Brazil, people in Belize. So it does alienate a whole lot of people that doesn't necessarily speak Spanish, because that's what Hispanic is Spanish-speaking countries, and it also encompassing the colonizers, which is Spain, right? So I think to Alexis's point, I agree with her, because it's like there is this pride of being Latino that we have brought, right? That we have brought culture like that. Now the Spaniards are like, they're like, oh, we trying to be like them. Like, you good. Stay over there where you at, right? Right. Now we got Spaniards dancing our music. They're dancing the salsa when they didn't want to know about salsa. They're dancing bachata when they didn't want to know about bachata that comes from Dominican Republic, right?
Right.
They're right. So now we got Rosalia that is killing in the reggaeton game that came from Afro Latinos, right? And she's singing dembos, and she's singing the traps, and she's singing. But this is a woman that comes from Spain, where in Spain, there was a certain time you guys didn't want to know anything about it. But once you step into this world, of course, with your white privilege, you soar to the top of the charts, right? So,
yeah.
So I agree with Alexis and there's this pride of this came, a lot of this music, a lot of this culture that people are taking advantage of came from these islands that are in Latin America.
Absolutely. So, and I appreciate that perspective, and what I have seen just from my own experience and my short time on this earth is that they study us, they take everything and then they flip it and then they make it theirs, and then they sell it. And so just like you said, so it happens to all of the different cultures that are not European, because they're the youngest, the youngest people here. So let's ask a question. I would like to know, Alexis, where you're from, and your experience as a child growing up, and did you think that you were different than anybody else who you grew up with?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I was born in the Bronx, and my family moved to Boston, and then they moved to Denver, Colorado, and we lived in Colorado for 6 years. And then we moved back to the East Coast, to be closer to family, and lived in New York, and then New Jersey, and then we ended up in Miami. And in all of those places, I always knew I was Puerto Rican, and I was very excited about my Puerto Rican heritage. My whole family is very proud to be Puerto Rican. If you know a single Puerto Rican, it's one of the first things you know about them is that they're Puerto Rican. But I didn't in my experience with other Latinos, Latinx people, I was always the darker Latina and never assumed to be Latina. There was always, a denial of the fact that I was Latina, and that was challenging. But at the same time, like my family as a tribe, my core family, we all look the same. So I had mirrors within my core family, and then when I extend to my cousins, everyone comes in different colors and shapes and sizes, and that's like very, very much like true to the Puerto Rican experience. You go to the island, you see people, you see Black Puerto Ricans, you see white Puerto Ricans, and everything in between. And we're all united under the idea of the flag and the ethnicity of being Puerto Rican. But that is also to say that we have always washed over the conversation around race. Like, we never really had a talk about being Black people, or, you know, about being, well, this person, this cousin of mine is white and they have white privilege, and that kind of thing. And so, and even though I'm not the darkest either, I acknowledge that I have a certain amount of privilege with the lighter skin tone that I have, whatever, you know, privilege that entails. It's still, I'm not a white presenting person, and I have experienced discrimination from a very young age. I remember going to Puerto Rico, and one of my distant cousins, not in my, you know, first cousins, said she didn't want to play with me because I was Black, and that was like, you know, I wasn't prepared even to say, oh, I'm different than you are, or you know, for that kind of like how to manage that kind of conversation and the trauma that you feel when you're not accepted. And so I think that my family was always really good about being inclusive. However, we always avoided conversations around race, and the common things that you would hear were always like, you know, terms like the pelo malo, pelo bueno, which means good hair and bad hair, or oh, how beautiful is that baby with green eyes? Your cousin's so beautiful because he has green eyes, or, you know, things like that, which are small microaggressions and anti-Black microaggressions that my family wasn't even aware of, because they, and I acknowledge this because they came to the United States and were forced to assimilate in order to survive. It was to their proximity to whiteness was something that was a defense mechanism on the streets of New York, and helping them to fit into the mainstream culture and the times that they were living. Like, my grandparents came to New York City and on both sides in the 50s, and that was before the civil rights movement. So racism was rampant in the country during that time, and, you know, still is, but like at that, it was very distinct because it was baked into the laws that we experienced in this country. So yeah, it's definitely like my I feel privileged in that I came up in a time where diversity was celebrated, and we were more accepted, but there's still a lot of overcoming that I've had to do in unpacking and learning about my identity, and healing too. I think that's why I think specifically the African Ancestry DNA test was such a gift, because it was like reclaiming that history, knowing that history filled a void that was like passed down for generations, since our people were stolen from their land, and like that, not knowing where we came from, like that information and history that was always missing. And yeah, I think I over answered that question.
No, it's fine. I feel like, you know, we definitely want to unpack a little bit more after Gadiel kind of gives us a short version of how he grew up and you know, who he saw around him. But we really want to talk about how the African Ancestry test has impacted you personally, how it has impacted your family. Like, once you shared with them, I'd like to know what their reactions are. So Gadiel, tell us about how, you know, kind of you grew up, and then how you're getting results. We saw the emotion, but you've had a little bit of time to absorb it and maybe distill it a little bit and research. How has it affected you as you move forward and how you see yourself?
You're muted. You're muted, Gadiel.
My bad. I did not expect to cry. I didn't. It was an unexpected emotion. And then not only there, like after I left, I cried again in my car. And then a week later, I thought about it. And then I cried a third time, right? And it was just, I was like, why am I crying, right? Like, but it was the first time things made sense, right? It was like the T car, and then the Cameroon as well, right? And it was knowing that my ancestors danced a lot, right? And I'm big at dancing. I dance all the time. I love dancing. And if you think about salsa, that la clave in salsa comes from West Africa. That whole that's a base of salsa, right? And I'm a big salsa lover. So everything made sense at that moment, right? And I think it's a mix of emotions, because you're also like, okay, yes, I got this from Africa, right? And when I talk to my mom about it, like, mommy, this comes from the mother side, right? Like, you got black in you because my mom is white presenting, right? And she was like, claro, Gadiel, of course. Why do you think I got a big butt? That's the only thing that she got from it.
Oh my goodness. Gadiel. So our African Ancestry family is loving it. They shouting out Cameroon. I'm Cameroon. Carm is Cameroon too. And so what have you come up with of why you cried? Like, what was it that came out, and have you been able to identify the tears, what they were from?
I think it was I always ask my father, right, where my blackness comes from. And I never knew anything. It's always, there's an absence and also an erasure of blackness within our culture, right? And it's like we're putting it, and we're racing, and the erasure is like, we're colonized within our religion. We're colonized with the music. Our music was taken away from us and rebranded, right? So it's just everything. Beauty was colonized. Beauty is like everything, like, like what she was saying about the whole microaggressions, right? It was just it was like walking in limbo, not knowing where your blackness comes from.
Yeah.
It was like, I don't know who the hell I am. And then I am not even white enough to even celebrate, the whiteness or whatever. We know where the whiteness comes from, but like within your family, when you're the dark one, you're getting the racism from within your family. So I'm the oddball at all times when I'm sitting down within my white uncles, my white cousins. You're the oddball. You stick out. When you hear racism and people make fun of your blackness, you're the odd one out. You are out of place within your family, within society, with everything as a whole. And then for the first time, you heard something that made sense.
Right. And so did you go, how did you share that information with them? What did you say?
I think I'm mostly celebrating my sister. My sister, she black too. Right? My sister, it was just me and my sister, like, enjoying and happy about it. And we celebrated. And I think we just kept it within there because, let's say I talk to the rest of the family, the rest of the white family, they're not going to give a fuck, and they don't give a fuck. Ahí va tú. There you go, Gadiel, talking about black people. That's all I get. There you go, always talking about black people. Okay. You always talking about blackness. I'm tired of it. Like, you tired of it? I'm tired of it.
Yeah.
I'm tired of telling you that these things are not okay.
Yeah.
I'm trying to say bad hair is not okay. Saying bad hair is that's not okay. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Saying people and this and that. And I'm always getting into argument with people that I love, right?
Yeah, I'm sorry that happened. So now, Alexis, well, Gadiel, I saw you talk to your dad about him being of the brown hue, and Alexis, I saw you talk to your mom in another video, and I see my girl Shanae. Hey, Shanae. I saw you talk to your mom about her experiences of, being browner. So what do you think? This newer generation, your generation, what are you all planning to do differently now that you have this new information, and how can you carry the movement forward of connection and pride in this side. What are you planning to do? Either of you, Alexis?
You're right.
Yeah, I think I mean, having the information is like knowledge is power. Like that's, you know, it doesn't get more real than that. Like really, truly having this proof of like, this is where we come from. And not just Spain, you know, like we always knew we came from Spain, but now we know this is the region that, and these are the people that we're descended from, and they still exist today. They're still there in Nigeria, and the Igbo people are very proud. I've gotten so many messages from Igbo people, you know, across the globe on Instagram. They're reaching out to me, being like, "I'm so welcome, sister." Welcome to the tribe, and sending me resources and educating me about my ancestors. And I think that has been such a gift to everybody in my family, because my grandmother on my mother's side, I think this is in the video, my grandmother on my mother's side, so I did the maternal line DNA test. Her mother died when she was 5 years old. She died of tuberculosis, and she was put in an orphanage. And so basically the ties to her mother's side of the family were completely severed, and we didn't know anything about her side of the family. And my grandmother became a spiritualist. She had a botanica in the Bronx when, you know, she in her 30s, she had a spiritual revelation that caused her to open about botanica and become a spiritual advisor that she still does consultas, which are consultations to this day. She's a medium and that kind of thing. And to find out that the Igbo people are very spiritual and spiritual gifts are passed down through them, and that there's mediums in there, you know, in the tribe, and that is a very big thing. And they're business people. That she started a business. She started her own botanica, a spiritual business, and it was just like, oh my gosh, like this makes sense. Like that her mother is she's still receiving gifts from her mother through, you know, like the generation, like gifts from beyond, which I think are just such a beautiful testament to our ancestry. And I am so excited to have shared that with my family. Like everyone in the family was excited by this information, because we had so little of it. And I think
well, I would like for us to show the picture of your grandmother, great-great-grandmother on your father's side.
Oh yes, please.
You have a photo of her, and look how beautiful is that. That's circa 28, 29, circa 1945, 44, 45. So do you want to tell us a little bit about this grandma?
Yes, so we actually ordered an African Ancestry DNA test for my dad to be able to find out what tribe she's descended from. Mm-hmm. But my great-great-grandmother, who you see here on screen, her name was Brigida, and she was enslaved she was born into slavery, and during her lifetime became a freed woman. So she was born around in the 1800s. It was 1845 or so. And became a freed woman during that time. She worked on the Serrayes plantation, doing sugar cane. They would create rum and that kind of thing, and because rum is huge in Puerto Rico. And she lived long enough to see my grandmother, who she's holding in the picture on the left, I believe, or the right. I don't know which side. The one with the baby. That's my grandmother, my father's mother.
Wow.
And she lived long enough to see her daughter, who's in the other picture, go to New York City to start a new life there, because the opportunities in Puerto Rico were not as great for formerly enslaved people. But education was really important to my family. They knew, my great-great-grandmother knew that reading and writing was the way ahead. And that was what distinguished her children from the rest of her the family members, because she really enforced that they would learn how to read and write and be able to get other opportunities. And they moved to New York City to pursue a better life. And all of them worked in some capacity in education, which is, such a gift that we still have these pictures, because one of my aunts is like the holder of all of, like the collector of all of our holder of all of these treasures, and she shared this with us, and I'm just like so grateful to see the piercing eyes that she had, and to see what she looked like, and even though these pictures are so old, it's still like I'm like
they're very powerful for those of us first timers who are seeing them, and the education piece is very important, and that's why we also invited Carmel, 7th grade teacher, to join us, because this is one of those things where she is now the keeper and she is passing these things on. So welcome back, Carmel. Welcome back.
Hey.
And Carmel is Haitian on her dad's side, right?
Yes, I am part Haitian and my mom is Black American.
Yes. So would you go back and share a little bit more about the conversations that you've been having with your students, and how you are setting about, and why you think it's important to help them to open their eyes about learning more about the other side of, who they are, their identity?
So first of all, the stories like gave me chills, because I can see a lot of this and how it also resonates with my students. I think for me, wanting to take this route started like my first year at the school I'm currently teaching. And I had a student who was from Dominican Republic, very, very dark skinned, beautiful girl. But she actually came to the school as an ELL learner, which means that Spanish was her first language, not English. And so the kids there prejudged her, and they just immediately thought, oh, she's just a Black girl, she can't speak Spanish, and they would talk about her. And she came to me, and as best she could, she tried to articulate what she was experiencing. And she pretty much told me, like, the girls are talking about me, the Latino girls keep talking about me, but I understand everything they're saying, and they don't know that I am Latina. And so had this moment where she kind of had to get them together and put them in their place. But it was just like, wow, how eye-opening that just because she was dark-skinned and she had African features, they wrote her off as even being Latina. And they talked about her terribly, talked about her skin. They talked about her hair. So the bad hair thing, that also came up. They talked about her nose, her lips, so many different things. And so I always carry that story, because that same student who could not speak English, when she came to the school, she actually just graduated this year and got a full scholarship to Dartmouth. So I carry that story with all of my classes now when we talk about colorism, which seems to always come up. I have students who I ask them all the time, how do you identify? And a lot of them will flat out say, I'm white, because they do have the green and blue eyes, and they do have, the white skin. And I'm always floored, because I'm like, who is teaching you at home that you are white? That's a problem. Like, why do you identify with white? And so we get into like all of this real deep conversation around colorism. We talk about media and advertisements, and why is it that when we look at TV, when we look at television shows, when we look at music videos, why do all the Latino people look white? Why are none of them, Afro Latino representing? Why is it that when we look in books or magazines, they all have blonde hair and blue eyes? Like, why is that? And so we become really, I force them to become critical thinkers and really think about those things. And so sometimes I have students who give me pushback, and they're like, no, we don't practice that at home. We don't do that in our country. And then I have to pull the facts out, because as someone who's an avid traveler, and I've been to many countries, especially in South America, and I always like to connect with the African presence, I have to bring like the actual hardcore facts. And I'm like, no, in Guatemala, you have a group of people called the Garifuna people who are pushed out to the coast. They are Afro-Guatemalan. You have the Afro-Colombians who live in El Carmen in their own community. You have several groups of pockets of people who are Afro-Latino, but they are pushed out of their own countries, and they're pushed out to the coast or to the south. And they speak more than just Spanish. That wasn't their first language. And then they're shocked, and they're like, You mean to tell me like Guatemala and Peru and Colombia, these countries, they speak more than just Spanish? Yes, over 20 different languages. They speak their own native languages, and they're shocked. And then they go home and they ask their grandparents, and they come back and they say, Ms. Domond, you were right. My family speaks this language and this is what we spoke then. And I'm just like, yeah, like it's a real thing. So it gets heavy when we have to unpack it all. But I couldn't go through, I couldn't be the teacher that I am without teaching our children of all races who they are, their background, and empowering them. And I feel like empowering them is teaching them the truth, not waiting until they are, in their 30s or till they go to college, like most of us, to learn about their history and learn about the truth of who they are and the essence of who they are, because it's beautiful. Like your history is absolutely beautiful. And it all ties back, to our African roots. So that's the part that I play.
Well, that's an amazing part. And, we applaud you. We thank you for the patience, for the insight, also for the fortitude that you need to be able to share, because I feel like as, just in this time, we had 2020 last year, that's the awakening. We're starting to see things more clearly, just energetically. It's an awakening for everybody on many different levels, and just becoming more of knowing thyself. And I believe the earlier that you know yourself, and the earlier that the more pride you'll have. Like I said, I did my African ancestry test in 2007 on the maternal side, which was Cameroon. Then my dad did 2013 and 2015 paternal and maternal. So that was Sierra Leone. And then the other one was Germany. So I wasn't excited about that Germany situation. However, it gave me a better understanding of who I was. And I feel like I walk through life with a different lens. So Gadiel, even, Carm took the test. All of them are family members of African ancestry who have taken the test. How do you see yourself walking through life with this information that you have and this little piece of the puzzle of your identity put together? Do you feel like you walk taller or anything? How do you feel about it?
I feel good. I'm like, by the way, Carmel, those kids are so lucky to have you. I just want to put that in before I say anything.
And they love you, Gadiel. Carm showed them your video, so you might have to speak to their class.
Yeah, I showed them. We were talking about colorism, and there's a video. I forget the name of it, but it's on YouTube, and you were on there talking about, like how you felt when you were growing up. You felt like you were ugly and things like that. And the kids were just like watching in awe. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to be on the show with him. And they were like, really? Can we watch? They were super excited. But I thank you for putting that out there so that kids like my students can see it. And some of them do identify. They may not say it out loud because they may be embarrassed or ashamed that their families make them feel that way. But some of them did come to me in person and they do identify. So I appreciate you for putting that out there.
Thank you. That's why we did what we do. And that's what we do, and we're going to continue doing the work. And going back to your question, Wendy, I do feel like there's an answer to me, to my identity. Just like Alexis was like, because Alexis is very spiritual. Before the whole her doing the DNA test, she's very spiritual. She's always been. She was part of a writing group. I don't know if I'm able to say the writing group. That has to do with witchcraft, right? So, so I'm the one in the team that was always the dancer, always dancing everywhere I went. I'm the one that puts on the music, right? And then just to know that the people where I come from dance, I like, wow, that answered my question, right? But there is something missing that my mom is white presenting, right? Okay. My dad is Black, right? Okay. And I think what I want to know is I want to do the paternal side. I don't know if there's a way to do that.
Yes.
The dad, my dad just doing it, or maybe I do the paternal version.
Well, which test did you take? If you took the maternal,
I took the maternal.
So then that's your mom's side, and then there's another test for your paternal. So we have a maternal, the matriclan test, the mitochondrial DNA passes from mother to mother to mother, and then the paternal, the Y chromosome, father to father to father. And you can take both, but you could also have your dad do it, just so he's engaged and he's understanding more about what the process is, if you're interested in that.
Yeah, I definitely want to do this, because I feel like that's where my color, I feel like my color is coming from.
Okay.
I want to know more about his side, because I always ask him questions since I was a kid, and his answer is always like, "We come from Spain." I'm like,
yeah.
"Oh, you don't."
Right. So with that, we have a new segment, and we'll go back to some questions, but we have a new segment. It's called Fact or Whack, and it's an educational segment. So we like to, educate and blow away some of the myths that, that are out and that are prevalent. So Fact or Whack with African Ancestry. So the first question is, Ms. Domond, would you like to read the question?
As a Latino, is it important to know your African ancestry?
So everybody in the chat, now it's almost easy. So everybody in the chat, just what do you think? Is that a fact or is that whack? So you got 5 seconds to put in the chat what you think, and then get Barry saying fact, Alfreda saying fact, Jolie, thank you. Flechette, fact. So yes. What is the answer? What is the answer? Fact, of course. And it's very important. Alexis, you want to tell us why, as a Latina, Afro Latina woman?
It is the most important information I think that you can have as an Afro Latino, just because that history has been erased from textbooks. It's not common information. You have to really seek it out unless you have a teacher like Carm. I think that knowing where you come from just removes, I think naturally human beings go through this process of wanting to learn about their identity and knowing where they came from, and having that information already on hand just gives you the confidence in the world to move more confidently in the world.
Yes.
So yes.
Thank you. So the next question, Gadiel, we'll have you read that, please. You're on mute. You're still on mute. All right. Anti-blackness does not exist in Latin American cultures. What say you? Fact or whack?
I said whack ass. Ooh.
Everybody else, what do you say? Menelik is saying whack.
Whack.
Yes. Anti-blackness does not exist in Latin American cultures. Mary Pat Alfreda says whack. Our Cafe Cubano Keys, which Gina loves to say that name, so I'm saying it now. Our Cafe Cubano Keys. Lisa Zenobia, you're right. And then Keith says quack. So yeah. What's the answer, selector? Whack. Anti-blackness exists around the whole planet because we are the originals. And so, when they say like people hate the player, like we are the players. We created everything, all the sciences, all the technologies. Actually, our bodies are the original technology. We are the technology. So they hate. So that's whack. And the better thing is that once we get to know who we are, in my opinion, by taking the African Ancestry test, by connecting with our ancestry, connecting with people who are part of it, that will really be the change, not because we're trying to get other people to see who we are, but because we know who we are. It's a know thyself kind of thing. So does anybody want to piggyback on that, or have any last words on that whack statement before we go to the next thing? We're just going to ask a few more questions before we wrap. It went so fast. There's only 8 minutes left. I know. Carm, do you have anything else you'd like to add? So what are the next steps for your children in any of Ms. Domond's class, if you in the house, or even if you watch it on the replay? Take yourself off mute, Carm.
So some of the next steps, we're just going to keep diving into these conversations, much needed conversations. What I love is that a lot of the students are going home and they are asking the questions. I think that's really important because we can talk about it in class all day, but to hear it from their own families, I think makes a huge difference. But just kind of debunking a lot of the things that they've been taught and deconditioning them, kind of just like removing those stereotypes, removing those false ideologies about Latin American people, and kind of like bridging the gap and letting them know, like, hey, your African roots run deeper than you think. Unfortunately, that we do have a lot of students, again, that do identify as white, and so they are a little prejudiced towards like Black people. We've had some comments I'd rather not share that have been made already this school year, and I'm just like, wow, like, where are you learning that? As a 7th grader, you have to be hearing that at home, right? To call Black people certain names, certain racial slurs, it's like you have to be hearing that at home. So it starts at home. And I can only do my part in the building, but I'm just hoping that as a community and like with sessions like this, we can continue to just like really debunk a lot of those things and bridge the gap.
Thank you so much. We appreciate that. And wouldn't it be wonderful to have teachers like Carmel, and even for the teachers who are here, if you are teaching, brown and Black children, maybe just look at the lens a little bit differently and look at how pride and those types of things affect even the learning of the student. So now, what would you like to leave as a legacy? We have just a few minutes left. I'd like for you each to go around and with this new information that you have, because Carm just actually took her test not maybe 3 or 4 years ago, and the funny thing was she got her results in my living room. I forgot about that. We revealed her on live or something in my living room. So that's funny. Gadiel, you have a good sense of humor around it. I feel like you make it palatable. I think like you make it easy to understand and to possibly embrace. What are you going to do moving forward, and besides getting the paternal test, because we know you're going to do that, and we might have you come back to share. What's next?
Man, I just want to continue spreading the word. I still want to talk about Afro Latinidad. I work closely with Aida Rodriguez. She's also a comic, and she identifies as Afro Latina. We talk about Blackness and Afro Latinx, and we're going to continue this fight. And also the fight is not only, we also got to support Haitians, right? So we have to continue teaching people about the history, how Haiti has knocked down the walls for all of Afro Latinos, right? Haiti was the first Black nation. They made an example out of Haiti. Today and age, Haiti is suffering because the involvement of the United States of America and France, right? And how they destroyed the treasury and made an example out of them. So no other Black people in the rest of Latin America will get the idea of even being free, right?
Yeah.
So it's an ongoing fight and continuing educating people, and I think the fight is not going to be done until we get justice for all, justice for Haiti, and for us to understand where we come from and our freedom. So,
well, thank you for that. That's amazing. So Alexis, how can we be better allies to each other? So we have all these different people in the diaspora, and you're on mute. How will we be better allies, African Americans and Afro Latinos and all the other people in the diaspora? What do you think about that?
There's this concept that I've heard from a professor that we featured in one of our videos. Her name is Professor Ila Llorens, and she talked to me about hemispheric solidarity, and that means Black people across all of the Western Hemisphere uniting and acknowledging that we come from a very shared history of our ancestors being brought over on ships and being stolen from their land and being enslaved, and how we need to break the chains of white supremacy in all the systems that exist. And I think that a unification of the movements across the hemisphere is truly like what the future is. And I think that here in the United States, the Black Lives Matter movement has created, such an amazing ripple in our country. And last year was such a powerful year for everybody in the world. Like globally, we saw the rise of a new Black Power movement that included white people and indigenous people and people across and Asian people across all nationalities and races were uniting to dismantle the white supremacy that's been so ingrained in our systems, and that's what I hope to continue to work towards. And the content that we're creating on Pero Like, I hope that we're continuing to help to create a popular education for our audience to share in classrooms and to continue these conversations around colorism, because it's like one video isn't enough. Like we need to, this is an ongoing conversation, and I'm really grateful to you guys for hosting us today and creating a space for us to talk specifically about Afro Latinidad during Latinx Heritage Month. Because there's not a lot of these spaces being created, and so I'm super appreciative to you guys for that.
Well, thank you for coming. We are going to wrap up. Thank you, Ms. Domond, Carmel, aka Carmelinin, Alexis, aka Lex Rock, and Gadiel. So thank you so much for being here. We appreciate. We definitely will look forward to, I'll be posting some of the clips and links to Pero Like and to other things that you all are doing in this. It will live on Facebook and on YouTube. So share, everybody, like everybody, share this information that we're offering here. And they are all our African Ancestry family members. Thank you for letting me host, Dr. Gina. Thank you for trusting me to sit in your big shoes and in your chair. I'm so happy that you were all here. We're still in a pandemic, as Dr. Gina likes to say. Keep your immune system boosted. Do whatever you can to take care of yourself. Do whatever you can to take care of yourself and your families. And we will see you next Wednesday on African Ancestry Live. See you next time. Peace.
Bye.